We're here at the Toronto Sports Expo with one of our main men, Dennis May.
Hi, guys.
We're at the Upper Deck booth, and we are looking at the Young Guns timeline that Upper Deck introduced last year at the Fall Expo. So, as you may or may not know, Dennis is a former product development guy at Upper Deck. So he's going to take a couple minutes and tell us about his era when he was putting together the Young Guns.
This is my era right here. 1998 is when I started at Upper Deck as a customer service rep. After a year in, they were hiring in the hockey department for the 1999-2000 season. Got the job, and from there, I was able to do the checklist for 4 years in a row: 99, 2000, 2000, 2001, 01, 02, 02, 03. So all the players on the checklist were done by me. I was a product development manager. Matter of fact, we would, the one big thing that I always thought was that in the Beckett, all the sets were made, and I could look back in the Beckett for the rest of my life and see those 4 years for Upper Deck, all the, the checklists, the insert names, even the brand names and stuff. It was an amazing 4 years, and I was in my 20s at that time, and it was a dream come true to be a guy from Buffalo opening Young Guns cards in the early 90s, and now doing the checklist, 10, 15 years later at Upper Deck was just amazing.
That's awesome. So Dennis, tell us one of your favorite stories in terms of getting a particular player in the checklist, whether it was a last minute insertion or how you acquired a photo or something like that.
I can remember the Pittsburgh Penguins had got on a hot run, and Johan Hedberg was the goalie at the time. And in the game, and Baron Badesky, doing the checklist for in the game, was going to have a Hedberg card in one of their releases. And it was like a 5-alarm storm to try to get one Johan Hedberg photo. We had one, we did a rookie extended series that had multiple brands in there. And the last change that we could make were the Upper Deck ice cards. That was the last one that we could change at the last minute. So we did get a Johan Hedberg photo on that Friday. We were able to make the change and get Johan Hedberg at least an Upper Deck ice card, and that was a hot card, for a minute. But man, that's awesome. Quite the crazy thing.
We've seen some stuff since the early 2000s, haven't we?
Yep.
And it's kind of remarkable how the legacy has continued on. And I got to say, this is one of the coolest features of the Upper Deck booth, especially for those of us that know the earlier timeline. And Dennis, tell us a little bit about what the Young Guns brand meant to you guys back then, because you would have been within 10 years of when it first started in 1990. What did you guys think about the Young Guns brand?
Well,
and what kind of prestige you put on?
If you remember, I remember even asking you for feedback. The big change was inserting them short printing them instead of having them be as part of the regular packs. 1998, I think Upper Deck Football started to do that with their football cards, seeding them in one in every 4 packs instead of having them just across the product line. So that was a lot of that time that was, we had started doing that in 98, but it was still like a controversy. Should we go back? I remember doing feedback. I remember calling a Fabio Del Rio and asking him, whether we should or shouldn't. A lot of people didn't want to do it, because they wanted them to be in. But, obviously now I think, unfortunately, just the supply and demand and the shortness of them, and it did create some crazy values. Ilya Kovalchuk cards were crazy. Each of those years, Marian Gaborik was, the hot guy that year. Nash, obviously, his rookie year, all the, the top picked guys that had the rookie cards. But
how about a guy like Pavel Datsyuk, who wasn't a super highly touted rookie, literally in a high draft pick? How did that all work?
That literally came out of nowhere. From Russia, we had Eiserman was a spokesman, so we had a good relationship with Steve and stuff, and even he was surprised, he was like, who's this guy with the weird head that's making these like crazy stick handles? But he kind of came out of nowhere. Even there was Johan Franzen was another guy like Detroit. Like a lot of these guys kind of, I think he was the next year though, but
Mm.
yeah, with those guys in mid-season, you just, okay, who's their agent? How many labels? Can we get 5,000 signatures or something to spread across the whole line? So yeah, most of the guys, the first round picks, the top picks, but when you get the international guys, it just sometimes you just have to work quickly. But uh, yeah, with Datsyuk, I think he was pretty easy to get to. He didn't do a lot of signatures, if I remember correctly, but
Tell me about the photo. Do you remember this photo? How if was it a preseason photo?
not 100% sure on that one.
And would he have been Series 1 or Series 2?
I would almost positive Series 2. There's no way he was in Series 1
Right.
because he made his debut. He came out of nowhere. Yeah, I'll almost bet the farm it's on Series 2, but because all the Series 1 guys were either guys that had, last year, and then just the guys that made it right away that were, high picks that we had photos of from the draft.
So what would be the typical timeline between when a guy skated and you had to have Series 1 out the door? Were you able to get photography of these players?
Yeah, a lot of them were drafted, and we would just pretty much take the first, picks or whatever. There was, Patrice Bergeron was an oddball, second round pick that skated right away, but most of the time they were going to be a first round guy. And Upper Deck's been taking photos at the draft even predating my time, there. So they always had a photo ready, and obviously I did the research. My summer research was trying to figure out by reading Hockey Futures, all the boards, who's going to be, Scotty Upshaw, is he going to skate? All these different guys just throughout the time. You just make your best guess. You work with the league and just, and then just things you take a couple weeks. I mean, I'm sure the timeline's quicker now, but back then, it was still old school. We were just sending PDF files to the league instead of sending them overnight sheets from California to Toronto, Ontario. Just
That's awesome. So here we're looking at the Sedins, right? And they're pictured in their Team Sweden uniform. And back in that era, you would have young guns of guys who had not skated yet, who were either junior national team players, CHL players. So tell us a little bit about all that. Was that called co-mingling?
Yeah, just we had an agreement with Hockey Canada to make the World Junior cards, and obviously we were able to put those guys. They let us put them in regular licensed, sets. So of course we would do that. That was like the Bowman of baseball, back then. So, but the one thing I wanted to clean up when I got to Upper Deck was they were still putting David Legwan and making the Sedin cards and putting them as RCs in the product. And I've been a collector my whole life. The guy that, predated me, he was a sports fan, but he wasn't a collector. So he didn't understand the RC concept. So I wanted to come and that was part of my interview. I'm like, RC is going to be an RC. You want the whole RC. I took that, and the first day I came in, I almost, I think I almost got a fist fight with someone down at the operation because we had to get guys out. And I wanted just RCs, guys that were just truly rookie cards in what the rookie card definition was, at that time, to make sure that any card was going to be if it was a Future Watch card in SP Authentic, it was going to be an RC. Mike Fisher, Jochen Hecht, Milan Kraft year. That was, the year that I kind of took over, and just to make sure. And then obviously moving forward, we were making sure that any RC or any even short printed card was going to be an RC.
An RC, not just a rookie year card or a card.
Absolutely. I wanted to 100% clean that out.
Excellent. So let's go back over your head here. Obviously, this is the premier young gun from the premier series of Upper Deck.
Opening packs in my room.
Tell me about what you remember when those cards were out, because there was a young dirt.
10th grade in Buffalo, New York. The Bills were in their Super Bowl, at that time. We actually had a card shop at that time. My dad happened to be good friends with Jim Kelly, so we were able to kind of forge that relationship. He would sign some stuff for us to sell. We did some actually charity stuff, with Jim's signature that we donated to Kelly for Kids and all that. But man, there's finding Upper Deck. Upper Deck was the premier, and I, loved hockey. I've been a hockey fan my whole life. And I would, for Christmas, I'd want the Upper Deck box, hockey box.
Now, did you guys have access to the Upper Deck French back then? Could you even find it?
No, that was just going to the card shows in Buffalo, finding French hockey, and I guess UPS drivers were getting robbed in the States. It was crazy, back then, because it was a $5,000, $6,000 case, at the time or whatever. Yeah, stuff, being so close to the border, of course, the French did trickle into the U.S., but yeah, chasing all those guys, I was a Ronick and Belfort guy. I love German. I have a stack of Ronicks probably still, to this day. I love the Blackhawks. They were like my second favorite team at the time. So yeah, putting the checklist together and looking at all the names and even the international guys later on, Timo Solani and got Ziggy Palffy and guys from that nature later on with the young guns.
There you go.
I love chasing those cards. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Solani, Lidstrom.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis, thanks so much, man. This was awesome. Trip down memory lane. It was amazing.
Amazing time.
Yeah, you have quite a legacy, and it's literally something people can track on the Young Guns timeline.